He wasn't reborn strong. He wasn't reborn human. He wasn't reborn with a body capable of fighting, running, or even screaming for help. He awakened his consciousness inside a shell, buried in absolute silence, without arms, without a voice, and without any guarantee that he would see the world outside. This is where Tensei Shitara Dragon no Tamago Datta begins, and it is precisely this cruel choice that defines everything the story wants to say. While other isekai deliver immediate power, high stats, or flashy abilities, this work decides to start from the lowest possible point, transforming rebirth into something suffocating, tense, and uncomfortable from the very first moment. The protagonist's consciousness awakens inside a dragon egg, in a clearly hostile world where monsters are not the exception but the rule. He quickly understands that there is no guaranteed protection, no favorable destiny waiting for him, and that simple survival depends on tiny choices made in the dark. The story makes it clear that the world will not adapt to his existence. He is the one who needs to adapt to the world, even without fully understanding where he is or what he might face. The simple act of waiting for the right time to be born becomes a test of patience and resilience, because every second he stands still is also a second vulnerable to predators, natural disasters, or forces he doesn't yet understand. When he finally breaks free from his shell, reality doesn't soften. He is born weak, small, and far from the traditional image of a dominant dragon. The work makes a point of showing that being a dragon doesn't mean being invincible, especially at the beginning. Growth happens slowly, guided by experience, observation, and a constant need to avoid unnecessary conflicts. Each encounter with other creatures carries real weight, because any mistake can be definitive. There is no glamour in fighting, no exaggerated sense of power, only the raw tension of someone who knows they are not yet ready to face the world head-on. The most cruel difference in the work lies precisely in this progression. The protagonist doesn't receive power for free. He learns by observing, testing limits, and, above all, making mistakes. Each evolution comes with clear risks and consequences. The story makes it clear that growing up in this world requires consuming resources, confronting stronger creatures, and accepting that survival will not always be clean or fair. The dark side of fantasy appears without makeup. Living as a monster means existing outside of human morality, where killing may be necessary and hesitation can be fatal. Throughout the narrative, it becomes clear that the true conflict is not only physical, but internal. The protagonist carries memories and awareness of a previous life, which makes each decision more burdensome. He understands concepts such as empathy, fear, and the value of life, but lives in an environment that constantly challenges these values. This tension between who he was and who he needs to become is one of the central pillars of the story. It's not about becoming the strongest quickly, but about discovering how far he is willing to go to stay alive. In the midst of this brutal journey, the work builds a world that does not revolve around the protagonist. Other beings exist with their own objectives, strengths, and hierarchies. Dragons are not treated as unattainable legends, but as creatures that also fight for territory, survival, and dominance. This reinforces a feeling that the protagonist is just another piece in a violent ecosystem, and not the center of the universe. This narrative choice makes each advancement more satisfying, because nothing comes for free. At a certain point in the story, when growth finally begins to show results and survival ceases to be pure reaction and becomes strategy, it's almost impossible not to find yourself thinking about how captivating this trajectory is precisely because it doesn't make anything easy. And if this journey is engaging you, if this more raw and honest form of isekai appeals to you, perhaps it's worth supporting those who bring this type of content to you, leaving a like and subscribing to the channel, almost as if recognizing that stories like this deserve to be told with care. Tensei Shitara Dragon no Tamago Datta doesn't try to be comfortable. It chooses to be cruel, slow, and tense because it understands that true growth requires time and suffering. The protagonist's evolution doesn't erase the fragile beginning. It carries that beginning as a scar. Each new strength gained exists because there was fear before. Each step forward only happens because there was real risk. And that's precisely what makes a story so different. It doesn't romanticize the beginning. It doesn't rush the process, and it doesn't pretend that being reborn in another world is something beautiful. Here, being reborn means surviving first, understanding later, and only then thinking about dominating. In the end, The work delivers a dark fantasy that respects the weight of its own premise. Being reborn as an egg is not just a curious detail. It's a statement of intent. It's proof that this story wants to show that the world won't wait for you to be ready, and that growing up in this universe is a process as cruel as it is necessary.